Okay. This is now take 4 of my attempt to give a little Otzar HaChochmah tutorial. There was one tutorial that didn't even make it past the cutting room floor because I forgot to do a screen share. So we're going to start right now with a screen share. So now everybody that's not that one. There we go. Okay. So we're not going to do this online, meaning we're not going to use the actual Otzar interface online because it's been a little too slow. So I just screenshotted the various steps that we're going to go through, and that's how we're going to do this. So you get to the main Otzar screen, the main Otzar interface at this website. You have two basic searches, right? Two basic search boxes. If you don't, it has to be in Hebrew. So if you don't have Hebrew on your keyboard, you click on this little keyboard here. The two basic searches are you're looking within the books or you're looking for the books. This one is if you're looking for the books. You can look by title, you can look by author. This one is you're looking in the contents of the books. Now, a couple of things about Otzar HaChochmah that are important to know. The first thing about Otzar HaChochmah is that it's amazing. It's got such an incredible amount of information, an incredible amount of content that it just goes so far beyond anything else that's out there. If it's not on Otzar, and put it this way, the 4 big ones are you have Bar Ilan, Hebrew books, Otzar HaChochmah, and Google Books. The advantage of Google Books is that, you'll get to it from a Google search. The advantage of Hebrew Books is that it's free and you can just download the whole thing if you want. The advantage of Bar Ilan is that it's really been in a rigorous way digitized, unlike anything else. And the advantage of the Otzar HaChochmah is that it just has more material than anything else, and they did a decent job of OCR. As you'll see, there's a lot of false positives and a lot of false negatives. False positive, false negative means that if you look for something, if you look for a certain string, let's say subway, right? Rav Moshe Feinstein, you want to find Rav Moshe Feinstein's tshuva on, the crowded subway, about taking a crowded subway whether you like it or not, you're going to come into contact with people you don't want to come into contact with you. And assuming that you know how Rav Moshe Feinstein spells subway, right? You put it in. There still is no guarantee that it's going to come up just because the OCR is still buggy, right? So even if they get 95% of hits, there's still a 5% chance that it's not going to find that. And it might find something else that kind of looks like Subway, but isn't Subway. So that's just it's a little bit of a hazard. So let's start with a search. Okay. Inyana Dioma, let's search for cholera, right? Originally it was a term for disease, like as one word. It was a term for disease that later came to be cholera specifically. Okay, so I'm looking in all books for cholera. For cholera, I'm doing a simple search, which means that it's not going to give me bicholera, mecholera, right? It's not going to use prefixes. Fine. It gives me 609 results, and the results are organized by period, right? There's Chazal, scripture and the rabbinic period. You have the early Rishonim, you have the early Achronim, middle Achronim, late Achronim, and others, Acherim. Acherim doesn't mean heretics, it means just miscellaneous. And it's sort of distributed how you would expect, that you have a lot more right? As you go further, there's a lot more material because the production of books is, it has a pyramid structure, right? In ancient times, the production of written material was rather sparse, and then the time of the Rishonim, the medieval era, it was more, and the early Achronim even more, etc. And now, so Achroni Zmanenu, that's post-Holocaust. And again, it's not exactly post-Holocaust. Their dating isn't perfect, right? Sometimes there'll be something that's just miscategorized as being for late Achronim, but really it should be middle Achronim, or middle Achronim and should be early Achronim. But for the most part, you can see that it's distributed as you would expect it to be distributed. Okay, so now let's look at the results. So instead of looking at all 609 results, which would be like opening up a fire hose, and there's always that danger with Otzar HaChochmah, because Otzar HaChochmah has so much material that whatever you're looking for, you might find thousands of results. So, if I wanted to do other research on plague, right? What should I look for? Dever? Well, dever, you're going to have a lot of false positives, and just every time the word davar comes up, it'll be there. And you're going to get probably hundreds of thousands of hits if you look for davar. So that is completely useless, or all but useless. So we're looking for Choli Ra. Let's take a look at Achronim, middle Achronim, from 1840 to 1940. Okay, so that'll give us this result. Okay, let's focus now on the left side. So it gives us, these are the 55 instances. These are the 55 instances, right? There should be a bar here where you can scroll up and down. You can see it there barely. There's a bar where you can scroll up and down, and it's in alphabetical order. Fine. So, and on the left, it tells you that number is the number of appearances of the term in the particular book that you want to look at. So I go to the Dor Yesharim because that looks interesting, because Dor Yesharim is an Ishbitzer Sefer, Ishbitz Radzin, the Liner family of Hasidic Rebbes. Let's see what they have to say on cholera. So I click on them. I click on that, and it opens up, right? You see it's on page 72 of the book, page 72 of 118. Oh, and here's a little tip. Always pin these, right? Because sometimes you'll get 4 or 5 hits within one book, and you can click within the book. You can click on the different appearances within that book. But once you click on it, that little window with the page numbers disappears unless you pin it. So I always pin it because I just think that's, because I want to look at the different, and I want to compare the different usages within the same book. And if you lose it and you didn't see all the instances, you're going to have to go and run the search again. But so pin it. It's just a good idea. That little safety pin there, that little thumbtack, pins it to the side here. So you get another column here. Okay. So here, we're still on that same one. So you have in Dor Yesharim, there's one instance of Choli Ra, but when you look at it, it's not Choli Ra. This is a false positive. Shalida Shem Ish, Afilu Shem Nachri. Okay, that's not Choli Ra, and you could see that graphically it looks like Choli Ra. The shin is all blurry, so you don't know if it's a shin or something else. And then the Dalet and the Resh, that's a fairly common mix-up, Dalet and Resh, and so therefore you have a false positive. Let's look then. So if you see here, if you go to the filter, if you hit the filter thing, it'll give you the same breakdown that we had before. Remember 2 screens ago, we had the breakdown of all the results by period. So here too, if you click on their search results, on the Choli Ra search results by, you click on the filter, it'll give you all the different options. So now I click on number 31. right? I click on the early Achronim, right, from 1540 until 1840. Okay, and so what I click on Igrot HaPkidim VaHa'amarkalim Me Amsterdam Taf Kuf Peches. Now, you may not have heard of that sefer before because it's not a sefer in the classic sense. It's not a book of, it's not a book of halacha or a commentary on the Gemara, but it's correspondence having to do with, Amsterdam was where the funding of the Jewish community in Eretz Yisrael flowed through Amsterdam. So you have all kinds of documents and you have all kinds of correspondence coming from Eretz Yisrael to Amsterdam and coming to Amsterdam from elsewhere in Europe, having to do with the Jewish community in Eretz Yisrael. And somebody, apparently named Rivlin, decided to publish that as a book. So these are the correspondences from Taf Kuf Peches, so that's 1828. And we see, right, it's got one instance on page 79, one instance of Cholira, and the Cholira, it's actually in a footnote, it's not in the original, for HaMagefa. Okay, that's interesting. So the letter talks about the Magefa, and the footnote by this Rivlin fellow tells us that the Magefa that's under discussion is Cholira, which makes sense if we're talking about 1828. That's right at the beginning of the second cholera pandemic. It hadn't even gotten to Europe at that point. It was only in Asia. So from there, once you have this instance, once you have, you can scroll up and down on this page to see what's going on. We're going to skip okay, this is, I'm going to jump here because this is I put this slide out of place. So, okay. So here we are. This is back to the Igros HaPkidim VaHa'amar Kalim. Okay, so you see where it's from. It's from the Hague. And it has a date, Kaf Chet Tevet Taf Kuf Pechet. So that's December 1827 or January 1828. To Rav Chaim Friedberg, the Gabbai Eretz Yisrael, right? Each community had something called a Gabbai Eretz Yisrael. He was in charge of collecting funds within the community for Eretz Yisrael. In Bingen, right? Bingen is a city on the Rhine. So let's say this is something that interests me, and the thing that we're talking about, the footnote number 3 that says that Choli Raz Magefa, that's underneath here. And this, by the way, this is the next letter. This isn't even the letter that we were talking about. But let's say I want to print this page, or I want to print these series of letters. So I go to this little icon over here, the printer. So I can print current page, and I can print, I think it's up to 10 pages for the most part, even though it says we recommend printing up to 100 pages at a time. It doesn't always work, right? They'll usually just give you 10 pages, especially if it's a free account. You can also think about doing a screenshot if it's really just one page or just one paragraph. But that's that feature. Okay. And now another feature. So here you have, this is the actual, right, this Choli HaMagefa that you see right here. That's what the footnote is on. And it actually describes what was going on in Eretz Yisrael at the time. So let's say I want to copy that just that paragraph. So then I go to this, right? That's the snapshot tool. And I highlight using it. It gives you like a box. You'll see it opens up it opens up. You can open up a box to the dimensions that you want, as long as it fits the screen. And it gives you 2 options. One is that you can save the text that you've highlighted as a picture. The other one is that it will copy it as a text. Now, each of these has an advantage. Saving it as a picture means that you're getting exactly what's on the screen. So if you want to preserve the tzuras hadaf, or if you want to preserve the effect of it looking like the original, you can do that. When you copy the text, you can make changes, or you can put it into a source sheet more easily, but know that there are going to be mistakes, right? And that's the general OCR mistake. So you're going to have to go through it line by line. So here's an example of that. So here you have umidei dibarnu bam lo nuchal atzor mil'orer rachmeim al achenu b'nei Yisrael hayoshvim al admat hakodesh hashruim batzar kiatku gam gavru hatzarot be'eretz Yisrael tivanevet hikonen tiyena tzrurot. And if you look at the OCR, idei dibarnu bam, so far so good, lo nuchal atzor mil'orer d'mei hayom mil'orer rachmehem. And that's, instead of rachamehem, you have, because there's a little ink smudge over there, and because the dalet and the resh and the hey and the chet, so it looks like it says dimyoham, which is not a word, but really it's rachamehem. What's the part that actually talks about magefa? Zos va'od acheres ra'ach chola choli hamagefa. I don't know what Bet Mem stands for. Sharayabi Aram Tzova, right? The plague that was in the city of Aram Tzova, that's Aleppo, Hitpashet Ba'aretz, has now spread to Eretz Yisrael, V'yot Ir HaKodesh Tzfat, Me'arei HaPrazot, Nichnesu Ba Min HaNigafim, V'yichnisu Atzara B'Heichale Hashem B'Ir HaKodesh Tzfat. Right, Tzfat and Aleppo are really not that far from each other, and because Tzfat is far away from the center, right, there were people that were able to, right, apparently there were more stricter measures in major cities. Tzfat was not a major city. People managed to get in there. Nilkechu ba'avonotenu harabim kama nefashot yikarot v'hanisharim l'chaim tovim u'shalom mehem hiskiru es atzman bechatzreim u'v'tiroseh. Right, so you have that the people in Tzfat, whoever survived, so some of them, they quarantined themselves. They isolated themselves in their chatzreihem u'v'tirotehem. Mehem be'efes makom l'haskiu, me'efes mazon u'mechya. And some of them, because they had no place to isolate themselves, and they had no place to, they had no food, leishev behezger, ein yotze ve'ein ba'alehem, barchu al pnei hasadeh, li'chavei. And we'll have to look back at the b'ma'arot tzurim uv'mechilot afar. They went and they hid in caves, and they went in, they ran out of the city, and they did what they could. Okay, so that's if you would want to use this, and you see that, you know, these are, yeah, it's hard not to become emotional, and you know, when you read text like this. But and this is a text that who would have found it in the books of, you know, the Pekidim and Amar Kalim, if not for Otzar HaChochmah? Let's go back to this other one that we saw, that I put in the wrong place. So this is another one. This is also from the Middle Achronim, in a book called Bishvilei HaRefu'ah. Now, I saw that and I was like, wait a second, Bishvilei HaRefu'ah, that sounds like a relatively modern type of book, especially since it says Kovetz, right? It's a periodical, it's a collection of some sort. And it is, and it doesn't sound like, just thinking about it, there wouldn't have been, Bishvilei HaRefu'ah doesn't sound like a type of journal that would have come out before World War II. Now, I could be wrong, and I could be surprised, but that's the kind of thing that draws my attention. So now here's a cool thing. When you click on this little icon over here, the information icon, it gives you a basic description of the book. Title, author, where it was published, when it was published, what's it about. Okay, and here you see that its publication year was Tafshin Mem Daled, that's 1984. That's not between 1840 and 1940. So it's misplaced in terms of where it's supposed to be. It's misplaced in terms of the chronological categorization. It's categorized with the 1840 to 1940. It should be categorized with either Zmanenu, Achrone Zmanenu, or with Acherim. Who is this? What is this? This is an article by Rav Sternbach. Right now, you can look at that by looking at the table of contents, and we'll get to that in a second. But you can also see it just from this one instance of the word Cholera. Shoresh Aheter L'Tapel Ke'ein Ma She'evenu B'Moadim Uzmanim. So he's quoting his own sefer, which is Moadim Uzmanim. Shagon Rabbi Yisrael Solanter Hor B'Shnas Taf Reish Chaf Aleph B'Magefas HaCholera Shekol Ha'ir Vilna Yochlu B'Yom HaKippurim Shad Tzom Mitzvah. So he's using the famous story of Rabbi Yisrael Solanter eating or instructing others to eat during a cholera outbreak in Vilna in 1860. Okay. Moving on. So here's another search, right? And this little sad guy in the middle is because when I was putting this together, it was the connection was slow, and so the main page didn't load. But we'll see. It ended up loading. So I want to look something up in the Chavos Yair, or I want to look something up. I heard something in the name of the Chavos Yair. Fine. So I look for Chavos Yair. Now it happens to be that I know that Chavos Yair, Rav Yair Chaim Bachrach spelled the name of his sefer with one vav, not with two vavs. So I was able to find it relatively easily. If you put in two vavs, you might not have found it right away. Meaning it's not like Google where if you misspell something, it'll give you good results. If you don't give it exactly what you want, you might not get what you're looking for. But okay, so I have Chavos Yair. So now there are several books called Chavos Yair. Several of them are reprints of the same books. So this is the one I'm looking for, the Shelos Teshuvos by Rav Yair Chaim Bachrach. This is the Fus Rishon, right? That's what that little Daled Pei Vav Resh stands for. Fus Rishon, 1699, Frankfurt. Good. And then there's two other versions of it. They have a Mahadura Chadasha, and you have another version. I don't know, doesn't tell me exactly what it is. And then there's also another book called Chavot Yair by Elazar Kalir. That's not Rabbi Eliezer HaKalir, the Paitan. It's a different Rabbi Elazar Kalir, student of the Chasam Sofer, maybe, I'm not sure. And three versions of his book. Okay. So here's a cool thing about that. This icon over here, that's the author icon. If I click on that icon, it'll give me all the books by the same author. So I click on that, and now, boom, I have every single book that was ever published by that. Let's put it this way. Any book whose publication was somehow involved with Yair Chaim Bachrach. So most of them are his own books, right? Chavos Yair, 3 versions. We have that. Makor Chaim, which is a fascinating story. It's a book that remained in manuscript for 300 years. A Persian or Chaim that rivals, I mean, it came out, he went to the printer and the Magen Avraham just came out and he was like, what am I going to do now? So he printed something else instead. And this remained in manuscript. Okay, Mar Kashisha is a book that he wrote on Klalei HaTalmud. And then Chut HaShani is a sefer that he wrote, he published his own father's Shelos Teshuvos. That's, I believe, what he published instead of Makor Chaim. So he's not the author, and you can see that he's not the author, but he was the publisher. He brought his father's material to publication. I don't know why it says Avram Shmuel ben Yitzchak. It should say Moshe Shimshon. That was his father's name. But either way, fine. Now, let's say I want to look within Makor Chaim. Well, I'm sorry, within the works of Rav Yair Chaim Bachrach. Now, here's where we get into the fancy searches. Okay? Now, in this search box, you have all books, and then you have several other, breakdowns, right? You can look in particular, chronological periods or particular genres. Like I just want to look in Sifrei Shut. I just want to look in things published by Machon Yerushalayim. I just want to look in Achronim, whatever. And then this, I found this to be one of the most useful things, is that you search in the current list. Right, so if I have a particular author and I get to that author's list of works, then I can say like, okay, now I want to look to see where anytime that Rav Yair Chaim Bachrach talks about egos, because I know that Rav Yair Chaim Bachrach talks about, the minhag. He has a thing on the minhag not to eat nuts on Rosh Hashanah. I want to see what he says, so I put in egos in the current list. Okay, and I find there's something. There's something in Makor Chaim about egos. There's actually 6 things, and like I said, make sure to pin that. Here you see, this is another bug. You end up with the highlight that's not on the word egos, right? And that's, I don't know why that happens, because like the data layer of the OCR and what actually appears on screen are different. I think the data layers aren't completely aligned. So sometimes you have this misalignment where you see it and then you see wait, it shouldn't be there. And you have to look a few lines in either direction, sometimes even a couple of paragraphs in either direction until you find the egos. It's like finding an egos in a haystack, but at least you're looking on one page and not in an entire book. Okay. Moving on. Okay. We're going to go quickly through several other features here. So if you look at this page, right, you see all these little things on the side, right? These are fairly intuitive, right? You can switch into a full screen mode. You can switch into you can shrink the text. You can enlarge the text. Fine. Certain things like highlighting the text or saving the text to a personal ma'agar, to a personal database, aren't really going to be so useful for people that are using the free version, because you're using a free version. You're not going to have your own. You're not going to have your own database. Like you're not going to have advanced functionalities. These two are crucial. Okay, this one, the top one, is just a table of contents. It just links to every single page. And the second one is an index, meaning it links to every siman or every chapter. So for example, let's say I look for Minchas Asher. Okay, Rav Asher Weiss. Minchas Asher shows me that, okay, there's a bunch of books called Minchas Asher, some by Rav Asher Weiss, some not. So here you have Minchas Asher, not the Shut and not the Kuntris, Minchas Asher, 19 volumes. Now it's not a 19-volume work; it's several different works, right? It's his stuff on Shas and it's his stuff on Masechtas. And so I click on that 19, right? Because there's 19 books called Minchas Asher, right? And it'll have different printings. It'll have different printings and it'll have all the different books. So here they are, okay? It's not all of them, it's most of them. Now, let's say I click on one of them. Now, I have a page number. So I can click on the page number and I can scroll down to the page that I want. Or if I know that it's in a particular siman, then I can say like, oh, okay, I want to look in Yoredeya siman Nun Vav or Nun Dalet or Nun Tet, and I have that. Okay. This little blue screen here, let's say I'm in Yoredeya and I want to find in this volume of, okay, this is the Shelos Chuvos, I want to find wherever he talks about Chalav or Chelev. Okay. So in the search right here, this thing right here, we saw that before, you can or we didn't see that before. This thing right here, you can search within the current volume, right? Whatever volume you happen to be learning now, you can search in it. And so, okay, we're talking about Yoredea. So let's say I want to do a search for chalav or chelev. It probably comes up a lot. When you get this screen, it means that it's searching. If you don't get that screen, the search probably didn't happen. And by the way, the fact that Egos is still here, it's meaningless, right? It just leaves stuff up there sometimes, and just make sure you don't click on Egos for a search, because then you're going to end up searching for things that you don't want to search for. Like I said, there's certain things here that are counterintuitive and a little bit buggy. But here, if you're searching within the current book, and you search for Chelev, you'll get, here we are, Minchas Asher, volume 1, all the different instances where he talks about Chalav or Chelev, right? And you can click on any one of them to see, to see the contents, right? Again, pinning it, and then you can click to see what the context is. Is there anything that I missed here? I feel like there is. Yes. Okay. You can do, and I'm still a novice at this, so I'm not so good at it. You can use, first of all, you can use an exact match or prefixes. Exact match is more for if you're using 2 words. Now, for some reason, quotation marks don't really work in the search engine here. Again, it's not like the Google search box. If you do exact match, then if you do multiple words, then it's looking for exact, but sometimes it might give you, it will suggest alternative words, and it'll also let you exclude words. And then meaning if it's Choli Ra, right, for alternative words, it might give you Maggefa, or it might give you just alternate spellings of Choli Ra. Prefixes, you can tell it, which prefixes you want to include. Be Choli Ra, Me Choli Ra, Di Choli Ra, things like that. And distance between words is if you're searching for multiple words, you can put a maximum or minimum distance between the words that you're searching for. Okay. If you need to reach me, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer questions. You can find me on Facebook, on Twitter. Twitter, the handle is @Rabbi, ADDERABBI. Facebook, Eli Fisher, ELLI FISCHER. I hope you found this useful, and I hope this enhances your Talmud Torah as much as it enhances mine. This is either, I don't know if this is a warning, but I found that with Otzar HaChochmah, it allows you to do really deep dives, right? You end up, you see something and you're curious about it. You're learning one thing and you're curious about it, and you end up just diving into this rabbit hole, and you find so many things in Otzar HaChochmah that you wouldn't have found otherwise. And it's one of 4 or 5 resources that, if I was going to add a 5th resource to the ones that I listed before, Google Books and Otzar and Bar Ilan and Hebrew books, the 5th would be the National Library of Israel, which their catalog is doing a great job of, first of all, noting which books are available for free online, and they've also digitized a tremendous number of manuscripts, and they also link to other libraries and other institutions that have digitized manuscripts, or not manuscripts, printed material. So really, between those 5, you jump into a rabbit hole and you just have no idea how deep it is. And you can spend a lot of time there, and it's a lot of fun. And sometimes there's a rabbit hole in the rabbit hole. Yeah, this is the world of Talmud Torah today. Enjoy.